What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News. We are a podcast that talks about comic books, movies, TV shows, and we typically feature a beer of the week. I am one of your two hosts, Matt. Alongside me is Lauren, as always. And if you are just now finding us, hey, by all means, thanks for hanging out. Hopefully you stay. You can find us by searching Hops Geek News on any podcasting platform, any social media platform, the 75 of them that are out there. We are all there. That's the easiest way to get a hold of us. If you want to support the show, you like what you're hearing, hey, patreon.com/hopsgeeknews. That's how you can do it. We send you a welcome package. We give you, early access to episodes. We give you early access to certain other things, such as if you're watching on YouTube, the cool new thing I've got behind me in my new house. I've been set up my studio. I got a What's on Tap back behind me. I figure play around some things. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. And today's episode is going to be talking about the Dark Knight Returns comic book, the Frank Miller comic book. Obviously, Batman Day just happened on September 16th, so we're doing a little bit of a belated Batman episode today. So thanks for hanging out with us. First things first, though, what is on tap? As you see behind me, if you're on YouTube, like I said, guess what? I have chalkboard paint. It was a smart idea. I got a comic book recommendation, and I got beer. So today's beer is Air Gordon from Solace Brewing Company. It is a pumpkin porter coming in at 6.3%. It's that time of year, and plus we're talking about Batman. Commissioner Gordon, Air Gordon, because really the unsung hero of Batman is Commissioner Gordon. He's the GOAT, man, like the greatest of all time. And so I had to get this. And, it has the patriarchy on the can too, as you can see here, a horse. That's what I'm drinking.
Took me a minute.
Lauren, what are you drinking over there?
So I finally got my Tabor box of my family business beer. So I am drinking a family business beer company beer. And how I'm connecting this to Batman is, of course, Jensen Ackles did voice Batman in The Long Halloween. And this is his brewery. And though it's called Golden Age German style pills. So you think Golden Age, obviously you think comics, you got the Golden Age, you got the Silver Age, all that fun stuff. And I was looking at the can just now and I didn't realize this was a silver medal winner at GABF back in 2019 for the German style Pilsner. It's only 4.5%. So very easy drinking, very good. And I already have one in a box for you to ship to you for our next Supernatural episode.
Yeah. So if, again, this is your first time catching up the show, we like to go into what we've been drinking. We talk about what we've been reading or watching. We do some news, and then we go into our main topic. So what we have been reading or watching, I haven't personally been up to much other than building the mounds of IKEA furniture that I've been bought. Other than I have caught up on Only Murders in the Building, and that season is getting...
I forgot that came out.
Yeah, I think season 3 gets ready to wrap up next week, actually. I think it's only 8 episodes. So then I can binge it all. Yes, it's this season again, man. Absolute bangers. Speaking of, this podcast supports the Writers Guild of America. We also support the SAG and after strikes. What's going on? We don't get paid by the studios, nor so
anybody.
Just fan. Yeah, I mean we're fans of what the writers and the actors and actresses do, and so wanted to preface that before I said that. Hey, Only Murders in the Building. I really enjoy the season so far. The writing, because you can't have something good without fantastic writing, has been on par with the first 2 seasons. If you've been following the show, the season is no different. It's
a stacked cast this year.
Oh gosh, Meryl Streep's in it. Paul Rudd's in it.
It's a stacked cast.
Broderick has popped up. Yeah. And then, Martin Short, which apparently there was people attacking Martin Short saying he's not funny, which is...
I saw Mark Hamill posted something about that. When I first saw the picture pop up, I'm like, please don't tell me he died. Anytime I see a picture,
I saw Mark Hamill on Martin Short and I was like, oh God, did he die?
Yeah, I would be real sad about that. Yeah, no, he is hilarious. And him and Steve Martin together are even more hilarious because they just riff off each other so well.
They've been in a ton of movies together, dating back to the 80s at that. So he's very, Father of the Bride was an example. Really good movie.
Have you ever seen the movie Clifford?
Like the Big Red Dog?
No.
No, then no.
Okay, so it's this really stupid but funny movie, and I've actually never seen the whole thing, but my group of friends, when I told them I had never seen that, they were all shocked because they quote it. He's supposed to be like a child, but he's a full-grown man. It came out in the 90s. That might be a movie we need to do one day, or I need to watch it first. But it's one of those cult following movies, I guess. Or maybe it's just my friend group. I'm like, y'all watched it. All my friends are a year older. So I'm like, y'all watched it when I was still in middle school. And then you quoted it forever and I've never seen it.
Oh man.
But I can quote it.
I'm down. I'm open to it. I'll watch it. Carrie loves a lot of those older movies. she was watching.
I mean, it's from like the 90s. I wouldn't call it an older movie.
Okay.
Are movies in the 90s older? When I hear older, I think like Gone with the Wind.
Well, to me, the 90s were still like 3 years ago. Somebody said, oh, it's been 10 years since 2013. I'm like, no, it hasn't. That was
oh my God,
2 years ago. What do you mean? But we're at 2023 now and almost 2024.
Oh my God, this movie's rated 13% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Of course. Okay. Then it sounds like we have an awful movie to review.
It came out April 1st, 1994. Well, Mary Steenburgen's in it. Richard Kind. It's got people in it. Ben Savage.
Ben Savage. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
I will say what else I have been reading is some comic book recommendations I wanted to do. So with my wall behind me, I wanted to throw kind of like a beer menu because we are a beer podcast. So if you happen to watch us on YouTube or catch some screenshots, I started a Hopsgeek News, What's on Tap. So for comic book recommendations, I'm going to be doing the Mech Cadets issue number 2 from Boom Studios. And it's really good. It's a Netflix series. And issue 1, it's kind of like a Pacific Rim. If you are a fan of Pacific Rim, then it's about a group who saved the Earth world from, sharks, which are an alien race. And now they are.
I thought you said sharks.
No, they went back up to space to defy, the general's orders and everything like that. And it turns out there's another threat coming on and there's more to it now as we're getting deeper into the story. So I very much recommend that. Greg Pak is doing the writing. Always a great, phenomenal job.
And he's on the Darth Vader comic.
Yes.
I just actually caught up on.
So, really, really great crew there. The artwork is incredible. It gives you a lot of good, like Japanese anime style, which again, it's kind of like those Gundam Wing Pacific Rim style story anyways. So check that out. And then my other recommendation is the Enfield Gang Massacre from writer Chris Condon and Jacob Phillips. And so this is basically a real story about the Enfield Gang. It's going to be like a 6-issue run from Image Comics. And I can't recommend this enough. Like the artwork is phenomenal in this. And if you're a fan of Westerns, like Westerns kind of died off and went away for a bit. Well, this kind of brings that back. Yeah.
I was going to make a bad joke, but I won't.
Westerns are something I used to watch with my grandfather all the time. So I have kind of like a deep, I don't love them, but this story I absolutely love. It pulled me in. There's like a really cool shootout sequence in issue 2 that was just absolutely phenomenal. Jacob Phillips, the artist, does a really great job the way he depicts this shootout. There's a lot of like his use of shadows and blood and gore and guts. Not really guts, but there's a lot of blood because it's it's a shootout, it's old Western style. And issue 2 is out now. Like I said, I think it's like a 6-issue miniseries. And they also throw in like fun facts about the Enfield Gang and the shootout that lasted 5 days in Texas. So go check that out at your local comic book shop. Also, Alligator Loki is out now. I picked that up, haven't read it yet. And that's kind of some of the comics that I've been catching up on. So what have you been reading or watching besides Ahsoka? Of course, I have watched Ahsoka.
No, we won't talk about that.
Oh, man, it's taking everything in me. But if you want to hear me talk about it, I am going to be hosting Metalcore Nerds again to talk about its episodes 5 and 6. And so
I think I was grinning ear to ear the whole episode.
God, it was all you got to know is it's perfect.
Yeah.
I wanted to cry. I was happy. It was beautiful.
It's insane though. Now with it being released Tuesday nights, like the spoilers are all over the place.
First of all, Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. Thank God. Like, thank you, God. Thank you, Dave Filoni. Thank you, whoever I have to talk to about changing that schedule.
Really, Ahsoka's the only thing I really watched other than having Supernatural reruns on. I have read a few things and actually just mentioned Greg Pak, which made me remember that I just actually finished the most recent volume because I'm reading them in volumes, so I'm waiting for them, of the Darth Vader run. And I highly recommend that one because I really love it's like I can't remember if I mentioned it last week or I was just talking to somebody else, but it's just building the relationship of him with Padme's handmaidens because he goes looking for Padme's grave. He runs into a handmaiden and then there's stuff going on. And like, you're constantly questioning, okay, is he doing something that's a good guy thing to do? Or is he just purely evil? And you see these little bits of not pure evil. And I'm all for anything that personalizes Vader.
Well, I think that's real quick. I don't mean to interrupt, but I think that's why I love Vader so much is you can still feel the human aspect to him beneath that mask and you can feel his emotions when he's just like, because I've read up to those points and he's trying to figure out what happened to Padme. He figures out how she died and that the Emperor kind of lied to him. And it's just like his regrets. And you can feel all of that emoting through his helmet. And it's just, he's one of the most tragic villains and one of the most, just so much depth behind that character. And that's why he's my favorite.
Yeah, but it took years to create
that it did. Yes.
So, But yeah, so that's awesome. There's a short run of X-23 with Laura that I just finished. It's only 5 issues and it was pretty good. I didn't love it, but I would like the idea of learning more about her comic origin because I really only know her from the movie. She's
Yeah,
shown
same.
up like I don't know, once or twice in the Wolverine comics that I've been reading, but she wasn't relevant to the story really. So it was kind of neat to see that, and it intertwines with some of the old. I think they were trying to get people to read some of the older comics because I do think that she's eventually going to end up in the MCU with them bringing in these younger
Oh yeah,
characters.
without a doubt, I agree.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they didn't,
I
especially
wouldn't
after
like.
Deadpool 3,
I guess they're not going to really touch Logan in Deadpool 3, but part of me like
because it's
wants
in the
them to
future.
somehow bring her into it.
She would
I
be a
don't know.
baby though.
Well, I mean, the multiverse exists.
I guess,
So-
yeah, I suppose she could be older in another multiverse. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Guess they can do whatever the hell they want.
But exactly, just hand wave multiverse.
Yeah. And the other thing I read, so, we've been writing these comic reviews for Nerd Initiative. And so I got to read The Alternates, which was the first issue of a new comic book by Patton Oswalt, who I'm sure everybody knows who he
Yeah.
is. I mean, he's
MODOK.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't be the first thing I think of. He's Remy from Ratatouille. He's in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, he's all over the place. He's in Parks and Rec.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, he's everywhere. He's awesome. He voices a lot of characters. He's in a lot of things. So as soon as I start this, they're like, this is a spinoff of another comic series called Minor Threats. So as soon as I finished the comic, I actually went to my comic shop and got Minor Threats. So it's like a 6-issue run. You can buy it all in one volume. And it's really good. It's very out there. It's kind of about this group of like villains. But they're always more than just villains. And I don't even know how to describe it without ruining it right now, but
That's
highly
fair.
recommend that. It's called Minor Threats. That run's done. The Alternates is connected to it, but you don't need to read one to read the other at
Oh,
all.
thank God. That's good.
There's just there was like one character or two characters from the first one that just happened to be in this. I'm hoping they eventually do tie it together, but
Yeah.
as of right now, it just seems like, 2 different stories that just happen to take place in the same town. So that's what I've been reading or watching.
Nice. Well, get down to your local comic book shop, folks. Check those out. There are some new movies coming out this weekend. I haven't been to the theater in a while. I do miss the theater. I miss watching stuff. So hopefully I can get there eventually. But we have some news. Let's go on to some news. So before we get to our D23 news, Aquaman 2's trailer has come out. It is still going to be in theaters on the 20th of December. Going to be honest with you, the trailer didn't really give me a whole lot.
I didn't watch it.
It's very much like it just kind of seems like we're rehashing the first. They didn't even show Mara. Apparently, he has a baby, and they didn't even show Mara at all. It was he has a baby. He's learning how to be a father. Oh, look, it's Nicole Kidman, and no, they didn't even show her at all.
Wait, Mira and Aquaman had a baby, and
Apparently. And they don't even show Mira. So I'm like, that's kind of savage, and I think it's hilarious.
Well, she did shit the bed.
Yeah, I mean, literally. But Black Manta is the bad guy, the villain. So check out that trailer if you want. The Rogers the Musical album is going to be available by the time this episode comes out. So if you're listening to this episode now, and guys, good news. The Rogers the Musical album is out. Go download it.
I'm adding that to my Disney playlist.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm going to listen to it in the car probably tomorrow. And then speaking of, the visual effects workers have unanimously voted to unionize, which is very long overdue and a very, very good thing because obviously we know all these companies don't treat their visual effects artists. There is one company, I don't know who it was, it might be Disney even, that basically was asking their people to, did you see this? Like they were telling them to take loans, like something with their pay, like they slashing their pay and making it so like it's a loan or something like that. There's something really fucked up. One of the visual effects artists from The Boys was tweeting about it, and I couldn't really tell what was going on. I was a little confused, but they're trying to get their visual effects people to basically like cut their pay in different ways. So it's pretty shady stuff. Look into that. It's
insane. But I heard that they do these visual effects projects by bidding on them, similar to like if you're having somebody come fix glass and people bid on the project. So it's like when you do that in general, you always end up not always, but a lot of times you get
the lowest bidder,
the lowest quality. And so, yeah. And then they're going to, pay them the least amount so they can bid the smallest amount and get the job.
I mean, the military does the same. They to the lowest bidder. And this is why my stuff isn't coming until next week.
It's so frustrating. And yeah, it's things that legitimately matter in life. And like the visual effects may not matter and impact our lives personally, but they do for the people working on them.
Well, I mean,
And if you have things
anything
like
you
the
consume,
Flash,
anything you consume these days, media wise, is going to have some sort of visual effects to it.
but like I feel like Flash would have got shit on less if it had better CGI. I mean, granted, you had all that stuff going on with Ezra Miller, but outside of that, I thought it was a great movie, but it was hard to watch a couple scenes because the CGI was so bad.
Yeah, especially with the babies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I
could accept it in the Speed Force. The baby scene was a bit much because the Speed Force, I'm like, well,
no,
you're gonna make a little campier CGI. I'll allow it.
You're better.
But if the CW is doing it better than the movie, your life, look at your choices.
Very true. Very true. Now, speaking of, what if episodes for season 2 have been announced? It looks like late December is going to be the release date for that, because animation is very different than the SAG after. Like there's different rules for animation. So that and X-Men 97 should be coming out relatively soon as well. Did
you see one of the episodes is what if Wanda grew up watching musicals?
Really?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited for that episode.
That's gonna be kind of a banger, in my opinion. I'm pretty excited for that one. Okay, could you imagine what if she's like doing like ballet and stuff while doing, Wanda shit?
Oh, I would love that. That would be amazing.
I kind of hope that's the route they take. Like she's some ballet by day or whatever, or night, and that'd be great.
But you're gonna have a tap number. You gotta have a tap number. It's musical.
Oh yeah.
And it's gonna be classic musicals because, like, they were watching older sitcoms.
Yeah. That's true. In Sokovia, they're watching a lot of the old sitcom. Yeah, so I would expect nothing less.
Singing in the rain.
A lot of Gone in the Wind and Oklahoma. Anyways, to kick off some D23 news before I let Lauren take over, there is a new ride coming to Avengers Campus. It's called, well, I don't know the call, but Tony Stark's. It's going to involve Tony Stark time suits, a Xandarian jump point, Wakandan wizardry, and it's all going to be rolled into one and give you a fantastic ride. So that's kind of cool. I don't know where they're going to build it. If it's going to be like they're going to have to gut some Avengers Campus to make it bigger, if they're going to have to go inside the thing. But that is a new ride coming. And then last, but certainly not least, Hocus Pocus will return to theaters on October 6th. Do a double feature. Start off with The Exorcist and then palate cleanse, if you will, with Hocus Pocus.
Ooh, so it's like the Barbenheimer?
Yes.
All right. So yeah, D23 came out where they had a thing Saturday. So there's a bunch of international news too. I'm just going to go over the stuff that's going on in the States. But if you're traveling to any of the Disney parks,
we don't care about them
out of the States
parks around here. This is America.
I'm just jealous. I haven't been to any of them.
Me too.
But yeah, just look, because they're doing a ton of stuff over in Hong Kong and Shanghai. Yeah. It looked like
Paris.
They always get such cool stuff. Yeah, one of them has the Ariel Castle.
Lucky.
All right. So Country Bear Jamboree, which we recently talked about, is getting new songs, and Liver Lips McGraw,
thank God,
which is a terrible name, is now going to be Romeo McGraw. The songs will basically be Disney songs with some country feel to them. I'm really upset you're never going to get to see this show in real life now.
I'm just really bummed out, man. I'm so bummed. God,
it's like
so bummed.
And I'm going to talk about another thing that's going away soon too. But one of the things that I always loved about going in Country Bear Jamboree was hearing everybody's reactions and like the kind of shock and the laughter at what they were hearing. And like we talked, like it was so, to use your word, unhinged, that this was still there. And now they're taking it away. They must have listened to our podcast.
Yeah, they must have.
The other thing that's going away that I'm a little upset about, for a similar reason, is the bug show inside the tree at Animal Kingdom. Have you ever done that show?
I have only briefly gone into Animal Kingdom to pretty much do the safari ride. That's it. I didn't spend any other time there.
And the safari ride is pretty sweet.
It is, to be fair.
So this show, it's like under the tree of life. And it's a show. You get the 3D glasses, and you're supposed to be like learning about bugs and all these bugs.
I was thinking it's like a Bug's
traits.
Life. I was like, wow.
Yeah, it is a Bug's Life.
Oh, it is. That's cool.
Yeah, so Flick is hosting, but it's very scary for some kids. Like they literally have black widows come down from the ceiling, and then they have like it looks like
Natasha Romanoff.
It's pretty sweet because she's a double agent. True. She can't reveal her secrets. Not in every universe.
True, that's fair.
But they make it very dark when the spiders come down, and there's a lot going on. And at one point, it looks like they're shooting things at you, and they have it where the water shoots on you, and you feel the air shooting on you. Kind of how they do Philhar Magic at Magic Kingdom. The best part of the show is the very end, and it's so funny to hear everybody screaming during the scary parts because it's like you're at Disney, and this is a kids show. And then people are like screaming terrified.
It was a fun family vacation until it wasn't.
At the very end, you're sitting there and they're like, okay, would you everybody please let the mice and the rats and the roaches or whatever they say, like gross little creatures out first. And then you feel under your butt, like bumps, like they're crawling under your
hilarious.
butt. I mean, I've gotten to the point now where I lift up my butt before it starts, but I love hearing people be like,
not gonna get me.
But yeah.
Okay, that's really clever. I like that.
It is. And so it is a lot of fun. If you've never done it and you're going to Animal Kingdom soon, definitely do it. It's usually a very short line, but sometimes these lines start to get longer when people know they're going away. But they're replacing it with a Zootopia show.
Ooh, okay.
So Dino Land at Animal Kingdom is being rethemed to the tropical Americas. So like South America, they're going to have an Encanto area and an Indiana Jones area.
It's Maribel.
Well, they have, what's the little boy's name? I don't remember the little boy's name is, but he's one that can talk to the animals. So I'm guessing they're going to focus on that.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
I want to say Diego, but I could be thinking of Dora.
Wow, that's pretty interesting that you would just default to Diego for South America. Interesting.
Check it. So the Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland is the exact same ride as the dinosaur ride here. It's the same track. So some people think they're just going to do that, but I don't know.
Oh, I kind of hope they make it kind of more because that is a fun ride. But first of all, it's not built for tall people. Going to be real on, especially tall people who are post knee surgery. Can't bend my knee the whole way, man. I hope, but seriously, I hope they make it kind of more because I love Indiana Jones. I'd love to have something more immersive, but maybe that's.
I hope they have a snake exhibit.
It's always got to be snakes.
They have some.
Well, it's snakes.
I've seen like people, walking around with snakes there before, like cast members, and that would be really funny if you had somebody walking around, then you see somebody dressed up as Indy that runs away.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Okay, what do we have next? Figment meet and greet did come to Epcot. It has begun, and people waited 5 hours in line.
Ain't no fucking way I'm going to spend all that money to go to Disney and wait 5 hours in any line.
It's the same people that waited 5 hours for the popcorn bucket, I'm sure.
No chance.
If you do want to see him, the line will die down. I'm sure it hasn't been 5 hours again. Some people just want to be there the first day.
No.
To cover it.
I'm sorry. No.
I mean, if you're making your money off being like an influencer, I feel like you have to do the new stuff
Oh, God. All those Disney TikTok people. Yeah, that's true. Shout out to our boy, Theme Park Blurred. Just saying.
Yes, I don't know if he was there. But it is in the Journey of Imagination building. So when you come off the ride, that's where he will be. You do not have to go on the ride to get there, though. Test Track is getting reimagined at Epcot as well. It was reimagined like 12 years ago, 10 years ago. And this time it's going to be inspired by World of Motion, which is actually the ride that Test Track replaced, which I don't remember that word. Epcot is getting another new nighttime show starting December 5th. The Moana area, Journey of Water, is finally opening October 15th, and Moana will be there too.
That's my birthday.
You should come celebrate at Epcot.
Okay, what's happening this December in Epcot?
And this December, we're finally taking the walls down at Epcot. There's finally no more construction.
Bring these walls down.
Those construction walls have been up for over 4 years.
They actually really have. I've seen them. I've gone.
The first article I wrote for Hops News before the pandemic, I talked about the walls.
Bring these walls down.
So this area will be called World Celebration. So you'll have World Showcase, then you'll have World Nature, which is where the land and Living with the Seas is, and I guess Figment. And then you're going to have World Discovery, which is where Guardians, Test Track, and Mission Space are. So that's how they are dividing Epcot now. The Hatbox Ghost is coming in November. Ahsoka will be coming to Star Tours at Disneyland and Hollywood Studios. However, be warned, you're not guaranteed to get her. Every time you go on that, it's different. There's so many different variables. So,
yeah, it's such a fun ride.
Yeah, it's like it's never the same one. 100%. Yeah. I do wonder, though, if this is going to start making the line longer because people are excited to see Ahsoka. But that ride's been around since the 80s. They've added Rey. They've added a whole bunch of people.
Well, there's never, ever a line either, which is nice. Like, that's the one ride if you really want to get out and do something Star Wars and get out of the sun, you can go to that. And at worst, you're waiting like 20 minutes.
Yeah, and that's a shocker when that happens. And I like the gift shop after. That's where they sell
agreed. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. More so than like Galaxy's Edge sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. There's stuff you can find there. You can't find it. And they do the custom kid lightsabers, which are only like $25 or $30. And it's a awesome souvenir.
Just as much as if you went to Target, to be honest with you. And
and the kids get to make it. Yeah, it's really cool. And my last piece of news, which I'm hesitant to be excited about this, there's a tavern coming to Magic Kingdom near Pirates that will be in Adventureland. Well, when they released the concept art for Gaston's Tavern, they had everybody drinking what looked like foaming beer, and it was root beer. And they made this thing called LeFou's Brew that's supposed to be competing with butterbeer, and it's just overly sweet garbage, and there's no beer in there.
That sucks.
So I'm hoping that this tavern, I don't think they've brought out many details. If anybody's heard more, let us know. But yeah, so who knows if that's even going to be worth anything.
Hopefully so. That sucks.
And that's
Hopefully,
what I got.
come on, man, do some goods. Well, let's roll into our main topic. Yes, Batman Day may have just passed, but we are celebrating Batman Day here, and we are talking about the 1986 Frank Miller comic book, The Dark Knight Returns. So the first Batman Day was officially on July 23rd, 2014, and to make sure it happened during San Diego Comic-Con, that's kind of when they did it. So 2014 marked the 75th anniversary of Batman's first appearance in Detective Comics. It now takes place on the third Saturday of September. While it's still somewhat a new holiday, it does seem to be catching on a little bit more and more. In 2019, bat signals lit the skies in major cities around the world, such as Paris, Berlin, Tokyo, and New York City. Other recent events included Batman Storytime sessions at Barnes & Noble. There's Batman 5Ks. There's tons. I'm wearing a very cool Batman Dark Knight Detective Roosevelt shirt. So if you want to get some of that, go to roosevelts.com and let them know the Geek sent you, because they have a lot of really cool Batman shirts on there. Highly recommend that. So, random Batman fun fact before I turn over to Lauren. The creator of Comic Sans font said Batman and Watchmen actually inspired the font. He was trying to create a font for a comic book program, and somehow it ended up everywhere else.
No, some people have a very strong hatred for comics.
They really do. You know, they really, really do.
All right. So The Dark Knight Returns is a 1986 4-issue comic book miniseries written by Frank Miller, illustrated by Miller and Klaus Janson, with color by Lynn Varley. The story stars a 55-year-old Bruce Wayne who returns from retirement to fight crime while Gotham PD is none too pleased with him. So if you would rather watch this than read this, there is a direct animated adaptation of the story Batman, The Dark Knight Returns.
Seriously, probably it's my favorite animated Batman film of all time. That part 1 and part 2, the score, the animation, it does the story justice. Without a doubt, my favorite Batman animated story.
What's interesting, it didn't release till 2012 and 2013. So that's a big gap.
That's kind of when like Batman's and like the animated DC movies really kind of started to take off, you know, in that time period. Like they always did some, but like the 2010s was really when DC started to focus on some of those animated. And that's where you get a lot of the really good animated movies that we've gotten, and kind of the, I guess what you can say is, you know, why DC runs animation. And that's kind of, this is one of the reasons.
Right. And a lot of those are on HBO Max. I don't know if the specific one is, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is. So one of the things to note about this comic was that it was fans' first time in a while seeing a more dark and mature Batman that wasn't necessarily for kids. The comic helped Batman not just be seen as the campy Adam West version. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because the Adam West version is amazing. It's just a very different Batman.
I mean, it's the 60s, man. Come on.
Well, and the Adam West version was a result of the Comic Code Authority, you know, pressing down on these people and being like, you've got to write more kid-friendly things if you want us to give you, you know, our stamp of approval. And then eventually Marvel and DC were like, oh, we don't care anymore. So before that was in place, Batman was a bit darker.
Yes. You know what would be cool, kids? Watching Batman stab Joker in the eye with a batarang. Fuck yeah.
Watching a young kid get bludgeoned to death with a crowbar.
Oh, God. Well, the story of The Dark Knight Returns is set in a dystopian version of Gotham City in 1986. Bruce Wayne has hung up his cape 10 years prior after Robin, aka Jason Todd, has died. Selena Kyle runs an escort service, and shockingly, Gotham has been taken over by a crime organization, if you will, a gang called, sorry. My bad. I misphrased that. I messed up. My bad, folks. Anyways, there's a gang called the Mutants that have taken over the city of Gotham City, and the mutant gang. And they listen here, Spud. All right. Yeah, Spud. That's how they kind of talk.
That was weird.
That's the dialogue in this comic book in particular is not the best. So if you've never read it, just know that the dialogue is not the best at all. However, it's So Batman decides to basically bust out his arthritic cream, puts his cape back on to stop the mutants. It's a really cool event. He's walking down the alleyway into these mutant gangs. They kind of look at him because they're going to rob him. And, Batman kind of almost gets aroused. He's like, yeah, come on, man, do it. And they're like, whoa, he seems too into this, man. And that night he kind of got his mustache going. Him and Jim Gordon have just had a dinner date where they talk about the good old days because Jim Gordon knows that, he's Batman now at this point. And next thing you know, his mustache is gone. He's back in action. And of course, he's out here kicking some serious ass, and he's saving everybody in the city again, including two young girls, Carrie Kelly and Michelle, which Carrie Kelly actually becomes pretty important. Now, if you have read this comic book or seen the Google images, the mutants actually look like they wear Cyclops glasses. They've got some really interesting styles going on. They talk very Frank Miller thought
it's like Biff in Back to the Future 2 so. Almost. And I mean, this came out around the same time.
It's true. It did. It's very dystopian. So as Batman continues his quest for justice, he learns Two-Face is behind an armed robbery. Now, at this point, Two-Face has gone to the mental institution, if you will, and he has corrective surgery. We don't know this at the time, but Harvey, he's broken out. Harvey Dent, he had plastic surgery and therapy so that he can rejoin society. Bruce Wayne actually paid for it, and
what a nice guy.
Then vanishes. He still sees the ugly monster, but to him, that's what he's always going to see. He has body dysmorphia. Makes sense. And now Batman gives old man Commissioner Gordon the heads up. However, Harvey then announces that he's going to hold Gotham ransom with a bomb. Now Batman gets in there, and there's another very, very, very good fight sequence. And this is how he kind of learns that Dent now has a personality that coincides with his Two-Face name and appearance. And man, it's this really cool sequence where Batman's fighting the cops on the rooftops of Gotham. There's helicopters involved, and there's certain aspects like you can tell like Batman's old because there's a point where he's trying to aim or he's trying to climb rope, and it's like 10 years ago this was easy, and he's just like hurting, and he's like this big hulking man. And
you see that. See the NFL commercial with Marino and the other, and he's like, he gets to put his readers on to see the thing on his arm.
Yes.
I imagine it was like that.
It's very much what Batman is at this point. I mean, he's old. He's 50. In the comic, to be fair, I thought he's much older for the longest time.
Because 55 doesn't seem that old now.
No, it really doesn't now. I mean, but he's all
when you start getting senior citizen discounts.
True. And yeah, man, he's whooping so much ass on that rooftop of the new commissioner there and the cops. And it's earlier in the comic book, there's a really cool sequence the night that Batman actually comes back. And there's a cop who was around when Batman was actually active, and he was a rookie then. And he has a rookie with him now. And he's just like, kid, you're being dumb. Don't do it. And the kid goes after Batman. He's like, I tried to tell him. And, Batman kind of beats his ass there. But it's just everything about this comic book. So take us away with Carrie Kelly and what she has to do with this story.
So yes, Carrie Kelly, one of the girls he recently saved. This is her first appearance. However, she is in later comics, cartoons, and she was in the already canceled CW show Gotham Knights. So back to the story. When rescued by a superhero, you are either completely traumatized or you're inspired. Carrie Kelly was inspired. So she buys a Robin costume and starts looking for the Dark Knight. During a fight between Batman and the mutant leader, Batman's age and lack of recent training cause him to get his ass beat. So stalker Carrie Kelly manages to get Batman back to the Batcave where Alfred is somehow still alive.
Beat by the mutant leader. And this is another really good fight. Like
that's why you're here. I just have the cliff notes.
The mutant leader, he goes in there, he's got his tank, all of that stuff. Batman kind of rolls in thinking he's all smug, and this is his true test. Am I really able to do this? And he tries to fight the old way that Batman used to fight, and it was brute strength. Batman doesn't have that brute strength anymore. He's 55 years old, man. And so he can
live in Margaritaville now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. He gets beat down, to which Carrie Kelly actually pulls him on board the Batmobile. And Alfred's like, oh, that's enough, young girl, get away. And then Bruce is like, no, she's coming with me, because obviously he needs to ruin some other teenage kid's life. And so Carrie's going back to the Batcave, and Alfred's very much like, dude, what are you doing? No.
I just wanted to say a side note. The most realistic thing that ever happened in a comic book movie is when Aunt May is threatened with being charged for child endangerment. Yes. Obviously, I didn't want that to happen, but what did she expect? If you're underage, you should not be a vigilante. It is also illegal.
Also, if you're like 12, man, like, go to school. I don't know.
Right. All right. So Batman goes back, now more prepared to fight the mutant leader, and he is successful this time.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. I got to cut in, because this is one of my favorite Batman fights of all time. Okay. He goes back. He doesn't just go back and win. No. Okay. Batman gets ready. He kind of has his heart to heart. He has his heart to heart with himself in the dark of the bat. And he's like, I'm not finished with you yet.
And then he plays Eye of the Tiger.
Cuts a promo, very WWE style. He fixes himself. He's healed up. He sets a plan in motion where the mayor goes in, and the mayor talks to, well, the mayor wasn't part of the plan, but the mayor goes and tries to talk to the mutant gang leader, gets killed, and gets out, and then Batman don't shiv, man. And so Batman
talk to the bad guy
shows up to the mud pit, and everybody, the whole mutant gang's around. They put the word out that shit was going down this night, and they're in the mud pit. And Batman's like, you move fast and all this, but he's like, everybody's slow when they're knee deep in mud. And he's like, there's this really badass line that was essentially like, you don't get it, son. This is an operating table, and I'm the surgeon. And he fucking snaps his arm. And it's just like, yo,
he doesn't kill.
This is peak Batman right here. He is smart. He brings him into the mud. He slows the fight down because he knows he can't beat him in strength and agility. And he's just like dishing out one-liners and giving it to this dude, and in front of the entire gang. And from that point forward, the gang kind of is like, we're the sons of Batman now. And it's Batman doesn't have just one teenager working for him and Carrie Kelly. He now has an entire gang working for him called the Sons of Batman. Meanwhile, at the White House, Ronald Reagan, who's been flirting with a war out there somewhere, has basically told Superman that he needs to go and shut this shit down.
Prevent World War III.
Yes. And sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. So Superman headed out there, but they were discussing the possibility of arresting Batman.
Yes.
So after Clark and Bruce talk a bit, Clark heads to Corto Maltese to try and prevent World War III. Yes. So back in Gotham, Gordon's replacement, Captain Eileen Yandel, makes Batsy a wanted criminal for being a vigilante, which is very illegal.
I mean, fair. Okay, fair.
Batman, being relevant again, snatched Joker out of his very long catatonic state that he had been in over at Arkham. Joker, being the clownster that he is, manages to get his caretakers to allow him to go on a TV talk show where he kills everyone with Joker venom and then takes off.
With his two creepy dolls, like the wind-up dolls that he has. It's very Chucky. He sends the dolls and they poison gas out their mouth, and that's how he kills everybody. Because, again, you're bringing the Joker on for a talk show. What do you think was going to happen?
I know. Oh, maybe he's just very smooth talker. Isn't that what they said about Ted Bundy?
I guess.
The new Batman and Robin manage to track Joker and avoid the cops at the same time. A fight ensues between Batsy and his ultimate arch nemesis, the Joker. While Batman seems more violent than most superheroes, he does still honor his weird do not kill rule, which I feel like is silly, because if Steve Rogers doesn't have that rule, I feel like he goes so hard, like snapping that guy's arm, that he feels like he has to have a line. And that's the line. I
agree. I definitely agree. It is always interesting, Batman's no kill rule, because it's like, dude, you're out here crippling. You're crippling everybody.
Destroying life. It's almost like crueler what he's doing to some of these people.
Don't turn to crime. Otherwise, you'll be crippled for life and have nothing to do but think about it in your own thoughts when you can't move the neck down. Also, this sequence, too, is fantastic.
And dark.
Because it is very dark. You're at this theme park, and Carrie Kelly's, doing her thing, kind of fighting out, the two creepy dolls. And now Batman and Joker get into a fight. And Batman actually kind of takes it a little further and throws a batarang into Joker's eye. That's when Joker knows all bets are off. He's like, oh shit, this is not the normal, cat and mouse game that we've played forever and ever. And so they run into this love boat tunnel, and the cops are chasing them. They duke it out. Batman actually lets himself get stabbed a ton of times by Joker, which is interesting. And they, Batman's just dishing it out, and eventually cripples Joker to the point where he's sat there and Batman won't finish the job. And Joker's basically like, dude, what the hell? This is the perfect death. Like, why aren't you doing this? And he just turns his neck, snaps it, and that's it. Joker's dead finally. Batman is almost freed from this long debacle. And at that point, we actually see Batman have to pick up a gun because he's bleeding out. The cops are closing in. He sets a trap, shoots it, escapes. And at that point, he kind of just disappears. And this leads us into our next big finale. The thing that's really good about this entire story is there's like 3 big fight sequences. You have Batman coming back, you have Batman closing a door, and then you have the finale of Batman when this kind of comes to an head when Superman kind of says, dude, Batman, you got to cut it out, man. And Batman's like, no. And so Superman's like, fine, where? And Bruce is like, Crime Alley. And now we got like the military out there holding it down, this whole big thing. And this is, again, one of the, Batman versus Superman kind of took from this part where we got this really great fight sequence that goes down where Batman's in his mech suit and he's duking it out. He's got kryptonite. He's beating Superman down, actually. And he's like, I want you to remember one thing. Again, Batman is just spitting, absolutely spitting during these fights. He's like, I just want you to remember the one who beat you. And he fakes, or he has a heart attack. He dies. And that's the end of the fight. Or does he? Because as it turns out at the end, he faked his death. And Carrie Kelly's kind of standing there off to the side of the funeral. Alfred has died at this point. He has had a heart attack and died.
After he destroyed everything.
Yes, he destroyed entire Wayne Manor. Alfred has a heart attack, dies on the cliffside.
Alfred had a stroke.
Whatever, same thing. Am I married? I know it's not
same thing.
It's so, yes. And now Clark is paying his respects. And Selina's basically like, dude, how could you be here? F you, dude. And that's when he sees Carrie off in the distance with a shovel. He hears a heartbeat. He knows he's not actually dead. And now
he did the Romeo and Juliet trick.
Yes. Now the sons of Batman are going to do his work. We also left out the big power outage from the big. So when Superman goes to Corto Maltese, he steers the nuke away, which sets off an EMP and just cuts all the power. And the city kind of descends into chaos, and we see Batman on a horseback, and the sons of Batman are out there kind of bringing order back to the city. It's another really great moment. Kind of it's the Batman movie with Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson actually kind of borrow from this as well, where they kind of have Batman in showcasing that he is still the beacon of light. He is still this being that is out there to help Gotham City. And this is my favorite Batman story. If you can't tell, I'm just geeking out over it. And make sure you read this if you haven't. But I always like to revisit it once a year because it's such a phenomenal story. Writing aside, Frank Miller is not the best writer, and he's also not the best human being. But this story is just so much to love. Batman's back. There's like a finality to it all. There's some really good fighting moments, a lot of really great moments. So check this out.
Well, and even if you're not as a huge comic book fan, it inspired so many other things. So it's like, there's a long laundry list of other comics and cartoons that it inspired, but I'm going to make note of a couple of things in pop culture that you may have even seen and not known that it came from them. So obviously we know the Dark Knight trilogy, there's inspiration from a bunch of different things for the Dark Knight trilogy. Christopher Nolan has said that he drew inspiration from the Dark Knight Returns. There was a scene when Superman and Batman were fighting where the Green Arrow, it's old man Green Arrow, old man Ollie.
Ollie with no arm.
Yes, with no arm, shoots the kryptonite arrow at Superman. And if you've seen Crisis on Infinite Earths, he was in another episode too, you see old man Ollie with one arm. And so that is direct, take from that. So in Gotham, there is Cameron Monaghan, who plays a fabulous Joker. And they're actually at an amusement park in a scene. And that is a nod to the comics. Ooh. So I thought that was pretty. So this one, there's another Crisis on Infinite Earths. If you've never watched the CW shows and it's just overwhelming, I understand, especially there are so many ups and downs. But I do recommend taking the time.
Were so peak TV though.
They were, but taking the time to watch Crisis on Infinite Earths is so worth it. There's so many crossovers, so many Easter eggs. They bring literally everything in every single DC TV show and movie into that. There's a nod to all of it. You even get the old Robin, like Adam West's Robin.
Yeah.
So in Crisis on Infinite Earths and the Batman or Batwoman episode where Kevin Conroy actually plays Bruce from Earth 99, in this version is more violent to the point that he was killing. He did kill Joker. And when Supergirl confronts him, because Supergirl is there with Batman, Bruce quotes the comic while talking about Clark. He said, Clark would say yes to anybody with a badge or a flag, and that would give them too much power. And then Bruce says, quote, life only makes sense if you force it to, end quote. So, and he says that before he attacks Supergirl with kryptonite. So as mentioned before, Carrie Kelly is in Gotham Knights, and they do deal with the mutant gang in Gotham Knights. I really wish they had done that show better.
Oh man.
I only got through 2.5 episodes. I couldn't go any further. So if you notice any TV shows that you've seen direct from the comics, let us know. Those are just a few that we have. Yeah.
And if you have a favorite Batman story, please let us know. We would love to hear what your favorite Batman story is. Batman Day is fun. Everybody likes to joke that like, oh, there's another Batman comic. Oh, there's another Batman movie, but Batman sells, dude. Like there's a reason why
there's so many versions of Batman.
Yeah, there's so many things that you can do with his character, and it's really good character study as it is, but there's just a lot of good storytelling. And don't forget to check out our pal Christian Ward has coming up October 10th, and he actually has his, City of Madness coming out, where he's bringing the Court of Owls back. It's a very like noir psychedelic.
You can pre-order it. We already pre-ordered it.
Yes, we have pre-ordered. The final order cutoffs were last weekend, unfortunately, but that doesn't mean your local comic book shop won't have it still. So make sure you get there, get your hands on it, because this is going to be a really good story. So like I said, there's always a really great, there's so many things to do with this character. I really enjoy it.
Jensen Ackles could do a fantastic job.
I think he could as well. So do you have anything before we go ahead and wrap it on up here?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Well, folks, thanks for hanging out with us. Like I said, let us know what your favorite Batman story is. Catch us on Turn a Page for Nerd Initiative. You can also catch our weekly comic book reviews on Nerd Initiative every Wednesday. And as always, go follow us, Hops Geek News, everywhere you find podcasts, anywhere you are on social media. That's where we are at. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Happy Batman Day belated, and cheers.